Today I want to show you how I consolidated a 3-page resume down to 1 page. There was 9 different things I saw on this 3-pager that I think anyone can utilize to get really clear and concise and be a lot more visible to recruiters and hiring managers. And the inspiration from this post this video came from a post that I did on Quora that received about 45,000 views on what you should never do with your resume. And the number one thing I said was that you should never exceed 1 page. I think it's really valuable to be super clear, super concise, and get noticed as fast as possible. So I had a lot of comments. One guy in particular named Jason, he gave me a challenge. He said it was impossible to take his resume from 3 pages to 1 page. So we're gonna use his resume with scrubbed data to illustrate how I did it, and hopefully this can help you too. So let's get started. Okay, here is Jason's original 3-page resume. One of the things that I noticed first was there's only about 10 total years of experience here, but the resume is 3 pages and there's a ton of white space. So if I zoom in, the first thing at the top of the resume that I noticed off the bat was that there's no title underneath his name. Don't make the recruiter or hiring manager have to scroll down and find your title. The best thing to do is to include it in the top. The second thing I noticed, and this might be subjective, is that there's no LinkedIn profile link. So I'd like to include a hyperlink to my LinkedIn profile just in case the recruiter or hiring manager want to click and learn a little bit more about me. Number 3, wasted summary. So there are a couple bullet points in here, for example, that are not very impactful. Manage projects using PMI, PMP principles. Well, what type of projects? How big are these projects? This summary should wow the recruiter. And what I noticed here is there are quite a few bullet points that Jason has which are impactful. And I think it would be a lot better, for example, to take something like built a web-based system using PHP and MySQL to effectively track over $86 million in potential liabilities while reducing human-related data entry errors. That is a lot more impactful. Something like that should be up here, and these bullets can be consolidated a lot more. The fourth thing I noticed was that there was a lot of bullet points here in general that lacked any kind of quantifiable data. For example, administered organizational incident and service request ticketing system. And he just goes on and on and on, but there's no data to back up how big or impactful this thing was. Same thing here, enhance technical and personal effectiveness by coordinating mentoring sessions. Well, how many mentoring sessions and how many analysts did you help, and really was this effective? So in the consolidated 1-pager, I took a lot of these fluffy bullet points out and kept only the ones that were data driven. Number 5, core competencies. So if I go up here, some people like to actually include these. Other people don't. I generally shy away from including core competencies. I think that you can take a lot of these things, like, for example, PHP, Java, Bash, VBA, and R, and weave them into a bullet point. For example, built a web-based system using PHP and MySQL. Okay, so I don't think there's a need to have this up here in most cases, but I think this is maybe subjective. Number 6, company names. In this case, Jason, I actually didn't know who Conduent was, but he had put formerly Xerox Business Services, so I got a sense for what that company was. Now, a lot of people actually work for smaller organizations where the name of the company doesn't tell me what the company actually does. So if it's not a big brand like Xerox Business Services or Amazon or Google or something like that, you definitely want to put some kind of small disclaimer sentence at the bottom there that says, 50-person organization specializing in user experience design or something like that. And then when I read the bullets, I understand exactly where you're coming from. The seventh thing that I noticed here was some of the old positions are really not relevant for the current role. So he's a senior data scientist now. I don't really need to know that he was doing metrics and reporting at Dell, or that he was a contract business consultant at W2. I think you can consolidate these, and I'll show you how to do it when I show you the one pager. The next thing and the last thing I noticed was the kind of long-winded paragraphs here. Like on this data scientist role, it's not a bunch of bullet points. It's analyze department data issues, develop technology, blah, 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 manage projects from pre-planning and charter. By the time somebody gets through the first sentence here, they're going to skip over your resume. So it's best if you just stick to bullets that are really impactful. Okay, moving on to the one pager that I created as a first draft for Jason. Keep in mind, there's still a lot of bullet points here that need some work, and I do believe that there's a couple bullet points that can still be removed and make this even tighter. But hopefully you'll get the gist of what I tried to do here. The first thing was I added his title at the top of the resume. I next added a LinkedIn profile link. The third thing was I created a very short and far more impactful summary. Now, it's still not done. As you can see here, I say add the second most impactful thing that you've done. But what you want to do is add you want to add 3 really impactful things that you've taken from your career to highlight what you've achieved. And I like to say certain things like superpowers include analytical skills, collaboration skills, blah, blah, blah. And that's why in general, I tend to not like having these skills listed here, because I can list them in the summary. Number 4 is I consolidated down to the most impactful bullet points. Still, as you can see here, develop and optimize ETL process utilizing multiple disparate data sources. I asked him in his email to provide a lot more color on these bullet points. For example, manage projects from pre-planning. I think there's still a lot of work to be done here. He talked about down here saving manual process hours, but he doesn't talk about how many hours. So what I'm really trying to do is pull out as much data as physically possible to strengthen the achievements that he has. The last thing that I did was I consolidated down some of his older positions. Now, this is a question that I often get, like, how on earth do I take a 3-pager or more of a resume and consolidate it down? And I think the best thing to do is to take positions and list them out like this. I don't think there's really any need to put a bunch of bullet points. I think that can be a conversation piece from the recruiter once they get you on the phone, if they're interested in learning more. But the reality is they're far more interested in positions that were pretty recent. So positions from 2013 till present are the most relevant, and that's why the most bullet points are listed here. All right, guys, that's all I got for you today. To close out the story, Jason responded back to me via email, and he said he's man enough to admit that I was right, and when it's all said and done, he was going to retract his statements on Quora. So I'm glad I could help Jason out. Just a fun challenge here, but hopefully I can help you guys out as well with a couple of these tips. My name is John Marty, helping you pursue professional and personal success so you can live a life you truly enjoy. Hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. I got a lot more great content coming for you. Thanks a lot.